Hey man, the worst pain for a man is the moment he thinks he's lost her. The texts slow down, the calls stop, her warmth vanishes, and suddenly you feel like everything you built is crumbling in your hands. You replay every moment, every word, every mistake, convinced it's over. And in that desperation, most men panic. They chase, they beg, they cry, they collapse into weakness. But here's the truth, you haven't lost her. Not yet. Women don't walk away the first time they pull back. They test. They retreat to see if you'll crumble. They detach to see if your strength was real or just an act. And if you fail that test, that's when you truly lose her. But if you hold your ground, that's when the story changes. When a woman pulls away, it's not always the end. It's often the beginning of her real attraction. Because women aren't drawn to men who panic when they feel distance. They're drawn to men who stay calm, who stay focused, who don't chase when affection shifts. That calmness proves something to her. It proves you're not dependent on her mood swings, that you can stand strong even when she withdraws. And paradoxically, the very moment you think you lost her is often the moment she starts to respect you more if you don't collapse. Because in her world, strength is tested through silence, not through words. You have to understand this. Women don't disappear overnight without instinct guiding them. Her pulling back isn't always rejection, it's instinctual protection. She feels something, doubts something, questions something, and in that moment, she retreats into herself to see how you'll respond. If you chase, her doubts grow stronger. If you stay calm, her instincts soften. That's why thinking you've lost her is often an illusion. It's not the end, it's the battlefield, and how you act on that battlefield decides everything. Do you act like every desperate man she's ever known? Or do you stand like the rare man who doesn't break when she pulls away? Many women come back, not because of what the man did when she was warm, but because of what he didn't do when she was cold. When she went silent and he didn't flood her with calls. When she pulled back and he didn't chase. When she tested him with distance and he stayed focused on his mission. That silence speaks louder than any words, because it tells her, I'm not afraid to lose you. I'm not desperate for your affection. I'm already whole without you. And when a woman feels that, her instinct draws her back, not out of pity, not out of guilt, but out of respect. And respect is the foundation of attraction. Here's the deeper truth. When you think you've lost her, she's often watching closer than ever. She's watching to see if you collapse into weakness, if you try to buy her love back, if you beg for her validation, or if you rise higher, if you grow stronger, if you stay unshaken. And the man who rises during her silence doesn't just regain her attention, he multiplies her respect. Because women live in a world of feelings, and nothing makes them feel more drawn than a man who cannot be moved. So don't be fooled by the silence, don't be fooled by the distance. When you think you lost a girl, think again. That's when the game really begins. The female mind is wired for cycles of closeness and distance. One moment she's overflowing with affection, the next she's distant, guarded, testing you without saying a word. To a man, this feels like rejection, but to her, it's instinct. She pulls away to see what you'll do. She withdraws to test your strength. She creates silence to measure whether you crumble or stay calm. And here's the paradox. When you think you lost her during this pullback, it's not the loss, it's the moment she's watching most closely. If you stay unshaken, her instinct tells her she's found a man worth following. If you panic, she knows she was right to retreat. This is why women often come back after weeks or even months of distance. You think it's over, you've already convinced yourself she's gone for good, but then out of nowhere, she texts, she calls, she just checks in. Why? Because she didn't leave out of malice, she left out of instinct. She needed space to feel, to compare, to test. And when she saw that you didn't collapse, when she saw that you didn't flood her with desperate attempts to bring her back, her respect grew. She realized you're not like the others. That silence, that self-control, that calmness in the storm, it burned into her mind, and her instinct pulled her back, because women always return to the man who stood still while they drifted. Most men destroy this opportunity by assuming finality. They believe her silence is the end, so they act out of fear. They block her, lash out at her, call her names, or worse, they spiral into depression and lose themselves completely. But here's the secret. Her silence is not always the end. It's a test of your patience, a test of your strength, a test of your ability to live without her validation. And if you pass, if you stay disciplined, if you focus on your mission instead of chasing her, she will feel it. And when she feels it, the coldness fades, because women instinctively follow the energy of a man who refuses to be shaken by distance. When you think you've lost her, you must reframe it. It's not the loss of her, it's the return to yourself. Her silence gives you space to re-anchor in your mission, to remember who you are, to build without distraction. Most men see her distance as emptiness, but wise men see it as freedom. It's the freedom to reclaim your focus, to prove to yourself that you're more than her affection. And when you do that, two things happen. Either she returns, drawn to your renewed strength, or she doesn't, and you've still risen higher than before. In both cases, you win. Because the man who grows stronger in absence never truly loses. Understand this clearly. Women's attraction is not built in the moments of constant affection. It's built in the moments of distance. It's built when she wonders about you, when she misses you, when she questions why you're not chasing like every other man. When you think you lost her, she's often in that exact state, wondering why you haven't broken, why you haven't begged, why you seem calm while she expected panic. And that wonder is the spark of new attraction. It makes her see you differently, respect you more, crave your presence again. That's why you must never believe it's over when she goes cold. More often than not, it's just the beginning of a deeper cycle. When a woman pulls back, she's not always leaving, she's observing, she's watching to see if you will betray yourself. Most men do. They start overthinking every detail, doubting every word, rewriting the past in their minds. They collapse into weakness, sending desperate texts, offering apologies for things they didn't do wrong, or promising to do better without even knowing what the problem was. That desperation is exactly what kills attraction, because in her instinctual mind, she sees a man who cannot stand steady in uncertainty. And if you can't handle the silence of her distance, how can she trust you to handle the storms of life? That's the real test. You must recognize that attraction isn't built when everything is going well. It's built when things go wrong. It's built in the space where she doubts you, where she questions you, where she tries to pull away to see if you'll break. This is where most men fail, because they think love is about constant closeness. But women don't test you when they're warm. They test you when they're cold. They don't measure your strength when they're affectionate. They measure it when they're distant. So when you think you lost her, that's not your ending. That's your proving ground. If you hold frame here, you'll prove more than you ever could with words or gifts. Here's the paradox. When she pulls back, it hurts, but that pain is your ally. Because that pain forces you to choose. Will you collapse into neediness, or will you rise into discipline? Will you beg for her return, or will you return to your mission? Will you drown in her silence, or will you use it to strengthen yourself? Most men drown because they think losing her is the worst thing that can happen. But in reality, losing yourself is far worse. The man who chooses himself in these moments never loses, because whether she comes back or not, he's already won. And that's the mindset that makes her respect you more than anything else. Many women don't even realize they're doing this. Their pullback isn't always a conscious decision, it's instinct. Something inside tells them, step back, test his strength, see if he's real, and if you crumble, her instinct was confirmed you weren't the man she thought you were. But if you stand tall, her instinct is also confirmed. This is a man who cannot be broken. That's why so many women return after silence, after distance, after pulling away. They're not just coming back because they missed you, they're coming back because you passed the test. You proved you're rare, and rarity in men is irresistible. When you think you've lost her, that's often the exact moment she starts to miss you. Because distance creates space for reflection. When you don't chase, when you don't break, when you don't collapse, she has no choice but to sit with her own emotions. And in that silence, she starts to remember. She remembers your presence, your strength, the way you made her feel safe. And because you didn't flood her with desperation, that memory grows stronger. Women can't miss what never leaves them alone, but they can and do miss the man who calmly steps back and lets her feel his absence. That's why thinking you lost her is often the biggest illusion. In reality, you just created the space for her to want you again. When you think you lost a girl, what you're really facing is a crossroad. On one side is weakness, the path most men take. They beg, they plead, they compromise, they shrink themselves hoping to win her back. On the other side is strength, the harder road. It's the path where you don't chase, don't explain, don't try to buy back her affection. Instead, you sit in the silence even when it burns. You let her absence become your training ground. And in that silence, something powerful happens. You start to realize you don't need her validation to breathe. That realization is the beginning of true masculine freedom. Because when you stop needing her to stay, she's more likely to return. Women are instinctively drawn to strength they cannot move. When you panic at the thought of losing her, you reveal to her that she controls you. And the moment she sees that, her respect dies. But when you remain calm in the face of loss, when you carry on as though your mission is bigger than her absence, she feels something she can't explain. Respect, even if she's angry, even if she's stubborn, even if she swears she's done, she feels it. Because every fiber of her instinct tells her this. A man who doesn't collapse when a woman withdraws is a man who can lead, and that instinct is stronger than any argument you could ever make. Think of silence as your armor. When you don't chase, you protect yourself from giving away your dignity. When you don't beg, you protect yourself from humiliation. When you don't look for her, you protect yourself from her using your effort against you. This armor doesn't just guard you, it reflects back onto her. Because while you're silent, she's not. In her mind, she's asking questions. Why hasn't he reached out? Did he really move on? Was I not as important as I thought? That questioning is the beginning of her longing. And longing, brother, is what pulls her back. Not your explanations, not your gifts, not your desperation. Longing is built in absence, never in overpresence. Here's what separates kings from clowns. Kings don't panic when they think they've lost her. Clowns do. A king knows that his value doesn't vanish because a woman pulled back. A king knows that his worth is measured by his mission, his vision, his ability to stay grounded. Clowns, on the other hand, live for validation. When she pulls back, they scramble to get it back, making fools of themselves in the process. And here's the harsh reality. Once you've shown a woman that her coldness controls you, you never get her full respect again. That's why silence isn't optional, it's survival. It's the only way to show her and yourself that you cannot be moved. The beautiful thing about holding frame when you think you've lost her is that you win, no matter what. If she comes back, it's because she respects you more than before. She saw that her silence didn't break you, and that respect reignites her attraction. And if she doesn't come back, you still win, because you stayed true to yourself. You didn't humiliate yourself. You didn't abandon your dignity. You didn't weaken your frame. Instead, you grew stronger, more disciplined, more focused. Either way, the man who holds still in silence walks away with more power than he had before. And that, brother, is why when you think you lost a girl, you must always think again. Here's the paradox that most men never understand. Women don't always leave because they've stopped loving you. They often leave because they want to see if you'll love yourself without them. That withdrawal isn't always final. It's a probe, an instinctive pullback to check your strength. If you collapse, she knows you weren't the man she thought you were. But if you stay calm, if you keep moving, if you live like your mission matters more than her mood, she sees something rare. She sees a man who values himself even when the world goes cold. That, brother, is magnetic, because every woman craves a man who doesn't need her to survive. When you think you've lost her, you must understand that absence has power. It sharpens her memory of you. It forces her to replay the times you made her feel safe, desired, protected. And the more you stay silent, the louder those memories become. Women can distract themselves for a time, but eventually the mind always circles back. And when she remembers you, she won't remember the text you sent at 2 a.m., begging her to stay. She'll remember the man who didn't chase, the man who stood tall, the man who let her go without falling apart. That memory will haunt her more than any desperate effort ever could. You must also see this truth. Sometimes, losing her is the best thing that could ever happen to you. Because the space her absence creates is where you finally remember yourself. It's where you reclaim the time you wasted on her moods. It's where you sharpen your vision, double down on your mission, and rebuild your strength. And here's the irony. When you do this, when you rise higher without her, she feels it. She senses your growth, even from a distance. And suddenly, the man she thought she could leave behind looks 10 times more powerful. That's when many women come back. Not because you chased them, but because you outgrew them. When you think you lost the girl, the truth is you never truly lost. Because women don't define your worth. They don't give you your value. They don't complete you. All they can do is mirror what's already inside you. If you're weak, they'll expose it. If you're strong, they'll respect it. That's why her silence is not a curse. It's a mirror. It's reflecting back the truth of who you are. And if you don't like what you see, don't try to fix her. Fix yourself. Because once you do, once you become the man who doesn't flinch at distance, you'll never fear losing a woman again. So the next time you think you lost a girl, stop and think again. Did you really lose her, or did you just step into the proving ground of your own strength? Her silence is not the end, it's the test. Her distance is not betrayal, it's instinct. And your response decides everything. Collapse, and you lose her forever. stand tall, and either she comes back stronger or you walk away stronger. In both cases, you win. Because the man who doesn't panic when she pulls back, the man who keeps his dignity when she withdraws, the man who doesn't need her to feel whole, that man never truly loses, he only grows. And that, brother, is the truth that changes everything.